Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 5 after. Rocky will be here shortly, hopefully. I have asked Dr. Chad Williamson to come and open us up in prayer. So, Dr. Chad, if you would come.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for the city we can be proud of. Thank you for giving us leaders that believe in you and that can trust you, and give them wisdom that they can do the daily things that this city needs, make the decisions that they have to make that affect us all. Thank you for protecting our police officers and our fire department and allow them to protect us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody today, including our attorney, Rocky. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Paid bills.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll get those reports to us as soon as Tony gets them finished up.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, first item of business is first reading of Ordinance 2017-06, abolishing the Officer of Probation Supervision.
This is really just a housekeeping detail. It's based on consultation with some of the lawyers in our JCS case, and based on the way we were actually doing things anyway. This Office of Probation actually operates under the court and not under the city, and we're just clarifying that. So this is a housekeeping detail to make our ordinances comply with what we actually do, and we're now doing things in the way that's recommended by AMIC.
This needs to be adopted.
Yeah, it does. We've been working on the wording. It's been going back and forth between the lawyers for a while, and we need to suspend the rules if y'all are willing to do that. Pass it today if we could.
Make a motion to
We
suspend.
suspend the rules.
Second.
Yes.
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 Make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, number 2, the first reading of Ordinance 2017-07, amending Ordinance 2013-12, the Animal Control Ordinance.
I don't know how else to put this. This ordinance adds a section that allows the euthanization of the convicted animal.
Right.
In other words, the animal's now subject to the death penalty.
Right.
Yes.
This is a process that we're bringing to a close, I hope, before we ever need it. But we talked about this for several months, about the need to have something to add to our existing ordinance. Pretty well what it amounts to, and I would encourage the press to get a copy of this so everybody can understand the definitions that we're talking about. But if you have a dog that's basically deemed a vicious animal, it doesn't have to bite somebody. If it's deemed to be a vicious animal by its actions or molestation of passersby on a public way, it's all in here, then that dog is deemed a vicious animal by the chief of police or his designee. And then if that animal subsequently to that has another incident, then it can be deemed by the city judge to be euthanized. That, of course, could be appealed up to circuit court, I guess, but...
It can, and it's not an absolute requirement.
Right.
The judge is empowered to take, I mean, you wouldn't want a situation where somebody goes over and kicks a dog that's been labeled vicious and then it bites them.
Right.
You have to put some reliance in your city judge to be able to look at the circumstances and make a determination whether this is a dog that's dangerous to the extent that it needs to be euthanized, but gives him that authority to do so.
Gives everybody due process, the potential victim and the dog owner. They would have the opportunity to argue this before the judge, before any decision's made. And so we're not just going to go out and kill dogs. But it does give us the ability to start policing these dogs a little bit better. And what I would encourage the public to do is if you've got a situation, we hear these rumors, but if you got a dog that's chasing people that are walking, running, jogging, whatever, you need to make a report. Start the process, document it, and then we can take care of that properly, but it starts with documentation. If it's not written down, it didn't happen. So help us, help you, and this gives us basically the final piece of this puzzle. We've had an ordinance on the books for several years, and this actually covers nuisance animals also. And with that, I would congratulate Jimmy and the inspection crew. They're trying to police the downtown area a little bit and removing some livestock that's wandered into the neighborhoods and being raised for food or whatever. So we're trying to take care of those issues. The chickens are being caught that are running loose. If you have chickens in town, that's okay, as long as you keep them on your property and don't have a rooster. I did not know that it's illegal to have a rooster in downtown. But we're trying to address those, and we're trying to be as neighbor-friendly as we can. So if you got chickens running loose, you need to put them up, or critter getter's going to get them. So this has been a few months in the works, and I think we're ready to take care of this. And I'd make the motion we suspend the rules and adopt this.
Well, let me just say this under the definition of the nuisance and vicious. Just reiterate what you said. An animal doesn't have to necessarily be vicious to be a nuisance. If you read the ordinance and read the definition, I mean, just a dog that's interfering with you enjoying your property or whatever you want to do is considered, according to the definition, a nuisance animal.
Right.
And is one thing that needs to be addressed.
Right.
Now, the vicious, that's another part of it. I mean, if it's a vicious dog or if it bites someone, then is whatever it needs to be taken care of.
I think
Your motion.
all of us would police ourselves on that. I'm not going to have dogs going to bite people. I've had chows and German shepherds, and I've kept them in fenced-in yards, and I've got a dog now that's runs loose in my neighborhood, but I'm at the dead end of the road, and all the neighbors have dogs also. But if I had a dog that for 1 minute I felt would bite somebody, I would get rid of it because I got grandbabies playing around, and I'm not going to have that. And people just need to be responsible with their animals, and I think this gets us to the point of where we got a little more teeth in the law, so to speak, to make people, if they're not going to be responsible, we'll help them be responsible.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is for everybody to be responsible for your own animals.
4 years ago, we addressed the leash issue. This goes a long way toward helping that situation. I personally would still like to see a leash issue, a leash law, but this, if we do this, and if we do it right, this will go a long way toward that.
Well, I think it's important because of what we've seen in the communities around us.
Right.
And I commend you for taking the action to do this, and I would like to make a motion to adopt it. Oh,
Second.
okay.
I got one more thing to say. I get a lot of complaints from people about dogs. I asked them, I said, have you called anybody? Well, no. We can't ride around the neighborhood and see whose dog's going to bother somebody. I mean, people have got to call in and tell somebody about these problems, or we don't know about it.
And they call animal control, correct? And it's published in the paper.
Police department.
Call the police department.
Police department.
After hours.
They'll get in touch with Brandon and all, but we've got to know about it. We don't, we can't be everywhere. So I just like to state that they've got to call in, for when we know.
Document it. That's the key.
Well,
Document.
I'm confident that this ordinance, which was passed 4 years ago, has all the tools in it that are necessary to police dogs that are either nuisance or vicious in this. But as you said, it's not going to work without people making reports. I don't know about everybody else, but I don't want our police officers going around checking on dogs all the time. They got better things to do, but they'll be there if you call them and make a complaint, and the tools are here to take care of it.
So we have a motion to suspend the rules and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adopt. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carried. Okay, Resolution 2017-28 declaring Public Works Department dozer surplus.
Maybe you want to tell everybody kind of what's going on there? We got a,
It's a 1995 cat dozer that's wore out. And we spent money on it the last couple of years. We're at the point now we don't need to spend more money.
It's not totally wore out because we're going to sell it.
Yeah.
But it's not where we won't
Partially.
put any more money in it. Attaboy.
Got about a year and a half of life probably left on the undercarriage that need to be replaced. So we've got a couple of prices in mind, so we'll put out sealed bids, let them purchase it, and then we'll just plan to get another new one. And we've got one here now for trial, and I've got all the prices. If y'all want to vote on doing that, today's fine, or if you want to wait till the next council meeting, it doesn't matter. It won't kill us either way, so. But if anybody wants to see the prices on the new one, but the old one is a 95, and we do need to get rid of it.
We'll try to auction that off. If I run the resolution in the paper that we're going to accept sealed bids, give me a time.
We could do it 2 weeks from today,
Okay.
11 o'clock.
Well, what we won't auction it off with
Oh, it'll
is
come
sealed
in,
bids.
sealed bids come in
Have 'em.
here.
But you need to set a time
Yeah,
if they're going to be
that's,
open.
yeah.
We can do that till
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay.
You want to reserve in that?
I got reserved $10,000. Yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept.
Okay, we got a motion to accept the resolution. Do we have a second? Have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Purchase the other one.
Yeah, do we want to talk about the purchase of the new one?
I think we're ready to move on that if we need to. The dozer's here. It's been working fine. They give us,
We got to have it.
yeah.
Was that specific model on the co-op list, the national?
He's got Jessica's emails. He's gonna email it to her, but the one that's,
Does that need to come out of secondary or the 7 cent? Which one's best? Either one? Okay. All right.
motion.
oh, he's already.
Motion. I make a motion, we purchase it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to purchase. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, new business. Attorney Watson and Parker to discuss collection of business license.
We've, as most of you know, Mike Griggs recently retired, came back to work part-time in the inspections department. Part of his job duties in his new position is to assist in the collection of business licenses. That's been something that has been needed for many, many years. Most people pay, but there are a lot that do not. And I've asked Rocky, matter of fact, Rocky and Judge Hairston and myself met last Friday to discuss the process going forward with these people that absolutely refuse to buy a license, either through neglect or just absolute stubbornness. Having a business license is not optional. It is a requirement. If you are going to conduct business in the city limits of Fort Payne, you've got to have a business license. Physical presence is not the only requirement to have a license. If you conduct or solicit business, you've got to have a business license based on the type of business that you're conducting or soliciting. And I've asked Rocky to pen a little memo, and I'm going to ask Trish, if she will, to it's in your packet there, Trish, to run it in the paper and make people aware of the next step in this process is Mike is going to go around once again to the people that he can contact and in the strongest terms possible, tell them they have to have a business license, and the next visit will be with one of Randy's police officers to issue a summons to appear in front of the judge to explain why they do not.
Well, and just to add to that a little bit, there's a couple of options available to the city. If we've got somebody that buys a license today, which is May the 16th, technically they've committed a violation each day they've been open since when are license due?
January the 1st.
January the 1st. And for each of those offenses, they could be fined $500 and imprisoned for up to 6 months. I don't know exactly how many days there have been so far, but I can tell you that's a lot of money and a lot of time in jail. That's the maximum. Doesn't have to be that. In addition to that, if warranted, the city can authorize a complaint to be filed in the circuit court, and the court's authorized to basically padlock the business until such time as they come into compliance. I suspect that this year we're going to be pretty reasonable. It may be, or lenient is probably a better word, and that if we have to come back and we have to issue a citation or a summons for you to appear in court, and you come in and you pay the next day, I think probably the city's going to recommend that you pay the court cost on that, which is going to be close to $300 extra over and above your fine, that it be dismissed. Now, if we go around and we have to do this again next year, and we got the same people in May that aren't buying business licenses, and we have to do it again, I doubt very seriously that we're going to take that same attitude again, and we're going to start a little earlier next year doing this. And then if we've got somebody that's just absolutely chronic and is a problem every year, then we'll look at a couple of solutions. And number one, be issue a citation or a summons for each day of the year they hadn't had a license, and also to take action to have them closed down. None of that does anybody want to do, but business licenses are not terribly expensive in relationship to the income produced. They're tied in many ways to the income produced, and it's just a small cost that everybody has to bear. And so I think I can say, based on conversations with Andy, that it's our intention to come as close as humanly possible to nobody doing business in the city of Fort Payne without being properly licensed. That's really not fair to all the people that pay their license fee to do business, to let them do business and not pay. So we're going to be working on that. And
Mike has done a fantastic job. Mike, do you have anything to add to that?
You know, I'm just glad to see we're going to put some teeth in it. Like I've talked to you and Rocky both. I mean, I've got numerous people on my list now that I've made personal appearances with them and talked to them. Talk to them over the phone. Yes, I promise you I'll be in the next day. Road's long. We're still not getting them. You know, I get a lot of people who tell me, well, I'm not doing any work at this time, which is fine. But I encourage anyone, if you see someone doing roofing, construction, or anything along that line, to contact them. If they tell me they're not working in town, if they're working in town, then we need to be a little bit more strict. We've got to start put a little more teeth in this for people that leave just being late. There's no reason for it. We've got businesses that's been in this town for years that are 5 months past due right now, and I've talked to most of them, not all of them. They still haven't been in the
Yeah. I would like to compliment Andy for what he's done over the last couple of years, because he's gotten this thing organized. And it's taken him about that long to do it. And so this is the next step. And I think people's had this over the last couple of years, they know. And so we just didn't have we wasn't taking the punishment, I guess, seriously. So I'm glad to see it as well. Business revenue is license is a big portion of our revenue. It's about a ninth of what our sales tax is, and that's a substantial amount of money.
It's not something that this council arbitrarily decided to do. It's the law. It's the state of Alabama law that you have to have a business license. So,
Okay, set public hearing for June the 20th to receive comments on proposed ordinance 2017-08, authorizing amendments to the zoning ordinance.
this is the tiny house, small lot ordinance. It has to
Tiny
be-
houses.
Yeah, it has to be advertised for 2 consecutive weeks, with the last advertisement being at least 15 days before the ordinance is considered. So the June 20th meeting is the first meeting that would comply with that.
Well, we have the map here, Jimmy, with the overlay at that time.
I can see if Mandy
It'd be nice to be able to, if anybody shows up, it'd be nice for them to see what we're talking about, because I think what we're looking at is maybe extending that overlay to the top of the ridge.
Yeah, I wondered if we had agreed upon that, and
The ordinance as it is written at this time, Forest Avenue is the western boundary. So if y'all want to change that before the first reading
Right.
on June 20th, we
And I
need to
think
have
that's
that.
what that meeting would give us any input, where I don't know of anybody that'd be opposed to that. That would open up quite a bit more of the narrower lots up the ridge there that would be well suited for some of those. So I'd like to have that here for somebody to look at, and then I think that'll go pretty quick. Make a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Discussion about purchasing personnel changes.
I think this is something y'all have discussed in the past about letting Cindy take over the store, as I call it, the purchasing. I think everybody was in agreement with it, so this just basically authorizes that.
I make a motion.
Make a motion?
Leanne made a motion, Johnny said.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, authorization appraisal for the Mapco station at 5th and Gault Avenue North for $4,500.
When we talked about this last time, we didn't really have a price on what it was going to cost to get it appraised, and this is a firm price by a company in Gadsden that was recommended by Randy Wilson, commercial appraisers, and they can start at any time as soon as we just give them okay to go ahead.
As I understand it, they're not only commercial appraisers, but they're also experienced in condemnation appraisal, if I'm not mistaken. And I think this is the first step, and I hope y'all authorize this.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. The authorization of the installation of a speed table on Skyline Avenue.
Johnny can address that.
This is an ongoing problem we've had for several years. There's 7 families on that road, and basically it's a cut through from Fruit Farm to 35, and they'll come through there 60, 70 miles an hour sometime, and there's lots of kids that play out there, and hopefully this will slow them down or make them go down a different way or something. But it's a residential neighborhood, and something's been fighting for years. Your mother lives on it, and
Oh, yeah.
And this speed table is just a nice way of saying a speed break,
It's a wide speed bump.
wide
bigger
speed.
speed bump. If you use it too fast, you'll.
There's a couple in
take
front of the middle school up there if you want to see what they look like and how they work, and hit it too fast and you'll know exactly how it works.
All the way across.
I-
I've had people running from state troopers cut down that road and almost run me off the road.
It's
Table's not gonna stop that.
Well, it'll deter them a little bit.
find them at the wreck anyway.
We originally talked about putting 2, but our thoughts was we'll put 1 and see if that works, and maybe we might need to add another one later. But there's lots of folks come through there, and it's just a little quicker route.
Do we need a motion for that?
I make a motion. We'll
Okay, we
install a speed table on Skyline Avenue.
got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Speed tables are the second most common speed control devices. The first common one is the flashing sign that tells your speed. Yes. Well,
That's the last resort.
radar, exactly, yeah.
There's been children playing signs and everything else through the years, and nobody pays any attention. But maybe this will work.
Yeah, they'll pay attention to that.
By the way, I saw a lot of them in Florida last week, so they're beginning to put them in all over the country.
I hit the one at the middle school this week. It's pretty fast. Yeah, it does.
Speed tables, they're also for directing traffic. So if you have an area in the residential that has too much traffic flow, you can put a couple of them and the traffic will bypass that neighborhood. So you can keep that in mind.
Airport and 35.
Okay, Mayor, you have a report for us?
I've got a couple of things on the theaters I wanted to mention. We got a bid on putting handrails on the bleachers. I think you all got a copy of that, $3,600. These are the same rails that is out at the Coliseum at Rainsville.
I would make copies.
You hadn't got them? Anyway.
Same rail that's where?
At the Coliseum at Rainsville, you know, where the fold up, the rails turn to a 90-degree angle so that they stack along with the bleachers. Works really well. That's an install price, so if we want to do it, it's needed, I'll put it that way. Also, at the theater, we've been talking about some problems and various things, but the marquee lights, for instance, I went back and checked just how much we've actually spent on keeping those lights burning. We've spent $18,457 in the last 10 years, but $8,338 was in the last 3 years. So we've done a lot of work on them, but they still are a problem. And we need to keep that in mind when we decide what we're going to do. We're going to have to do some work on the marquee as far as the structural work.
Is that the marquee only or the sign also?
Well, that's, they're on the sign as well. I mean, the most of the problem I think we've had has been the neon on the sign, the theater, you know, this sort of thing. Oh,
I think whatever we do to it, I'd like to try to get something that's got nostalgia to it, and not, you know, some kind of new LED something.
yeah, it has to be something that looks like what we got. I mean, you know, you don't want to change it up too much.
Structural part's just on the marquee, though,
Right.
Right.
The sign structure is okay, it's
It's
just
okay,
the lighting.
yeah.
But we got some structural issues with the actual marquee, I believe. It's kind of pulling away from the building a little.
Just a little?
We're gonna have to bite the bullet on that in the very near future. I'm like Johnny, I'd love to see it go back as original as possible. And I know the big LED signs that you can program and you don't have to change the thing, that would be great. But if you can come up with something like that looks like what's there.
Right.
I really don't like, and I've had a lot of people say they don't like these real bright LED signs that flash and do all the stuff. So if we're going to redo that, I'm like John, I want to keep it as old school as we can.
Yep.
With the modern technology. And there's ways to do that because there's theaters all over the country that are being redone, and we just need to research that out. And when we do it, I think it'll be a big deal. And if we change that lighting out, it's probably going to pay for itself in a few years in savings.
We don't have an idea as to what that's going to cost, but, you know, that's something we can work on. And I don't guess it's something that absolutely has to be done this year, but it's something we need to plan on doing, and do that in connection with some of the structural work and some of the termite issues and whatever we got to do. Next year, we would have plenty to do. The bleacher rails, I'd recommend that we go ahead and do that.
I'd like to see that get started. I've seen some people
Yeah.
have some real near misses up there and actually saw
Yeah,
ladies
that
fall.
needs to be done.
I did see a
I'd like to
lady
see us
fall.
go ahead and do that, if y'all good with it. I'd make
Need
a
a
motion to do
Reasonable
A
that.
price,
second.
I mean, you know.
Motion on the floor.
Got a motion and a second?
Purchase the rails. Johnny second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Get to have rails now.
We'll have some rails. That'd be good. I get nervous when I see people going down. They just keep going down.
Anything
As far
else?
as the air conditioning in the senior center that we've been talking about for the last week or so, we don't really have a contract with them. I think that my recommendation would be to fix the unit that's not working now, and then either give a contract, redo the contract, or give the building to the county or something. I mean, you know, we get $1 a year out of it, and that's it.
I don't think I'd be in favor of giving it to the county.
I'm not in favor of giving
I'm
it
not
to
in favor
them.
of giving it away.
Did we get the other units looked at to see what the long-range plan for them is?
All of them's got to be replaced,
We're
every
gonna
one of
basically do
them.
one
They're
at a
all
time.
24, 25 years
How
old.
many units total are there?
Three.
Well, there's 7 in that whole building, 7 units, according to, I think there's 3 that's in this group that's bad right now, 3 or 4.
And that was $8,000 to fix all of those, or just one of them? 2?
Well, I think they had did they find the leak in one of them? Wasn't that part of the problem?
Well, I talked to Howard Bryant, and he said they put Freon in one of them, and it's already gone again, so they've got a leak in the line somewhere. So it needs to be soldered together and nitrogen put on it and see what they've done. But he gave us a price on a 1-ton air conditioner and furnace and a 4-ton. That would get to the group that's sitting there, yeah.
Yeah, I got a price from another one for just the 4-ton. I thought that was the one that we were really concerned with. And it was like $4,800, but didn't get a price of the other one, so.
So that was on 3 of them?
No, this 4 is that 4.
Well, you can fix the leak in the Freon, right? You don't have to replace it, but you're saying it will need it?
If it's inside the walls or what have you, you can't fix it, but
They're all 30 years old. And I kind of had in my mind maybe talking to the county, and we might split it with them. If they pay for 2, we'll pay for the other 2 or something. But we don't get anything out of it.
I agree. I think we should approach the county and see about getting see if they share the cost with
I
it.
mean, they're the ones using it. I agree.
Our people use it, and there's some from out in the county that use it too.
But I'm not in favor of us giving.
The county sponsors the program that's there, but there's probably the majority of them are Fort Payne folks that use it. And I think we basically keep the building and fix it. So, and we need to get something going on this before it gets any harder into the year.
Well, what we need to do before we accept either one of those is make sure they're quoting the same.
Right, apples and
things.
oranges.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
well, let me get with Ricky Harcrow, see what I can work out with him, and in the meantime, I'll get other.
Well, let me remind you, I don't think it's clear from that contract, and we don't have a contract at this point, but if you look back to the old contract, it is not clear from that contract who should pay for that. And so it might be a pretty good suggestion to have some discussion about some division of that, and then get a new contract,
Right.
which makes it very clear that the city's not going to pay for it in the future.
Yes, and we'll address it. If it's vetted out.
Well, at $1 a year, the city should not be responsible for anything on that building.
Agree.
ever.
I think that'd be in the new contract after we get through this hurdle.
Yes, I agree.
Be working on a contract.
I already have.
You have anything else, Mayor?
Yeah, a couple other things. Rita Chipwood came up, the last time. We told her we'd try to give her an answer about that particular piece of property that she was selling. I heard from a couple of you. What's the general consensus as to what we need to do with her request? The one that she came up where she was going to sell the house
Street.
up, by the Hawkins Springs. Yeah. I went up there and looked at that. All the property around it has got fences and buildings, even part of a house on one of them. We'll never use it. I mean, it's not of any value to us as far as that goes.
I don't have any problem with them using the property.
I don't either.
I don't have a problem with them using it. I really don't want to give it to them.
No, I thought was just give them permission to use it because the others are using it without permission.
Well, there's a process you have to go through to do that. You're going to have to declare whatever portion. If you're going to do something formal, you got to declare whatever portion they're going to use surplus and then enter into a contract with them if they want something formal.
But if
they
I can
want
do
you
it
just to say we're not
informally.
going to bother you, then you can say that. So.
I'll get back with her on that.
Folks want to lease or something, would it be all right to lease it to them for $1 a year or something?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have.
We'd have to go through that procedure.
Well, you're going to
of
have to
that,
declare. First of all, somebody's going to have to describe it, and then you're going to have to declare it surplus and enter into the lease. And I don't see a problem doing that.
And if we did that, we would have to do that with all the homeowners up there that's got stuff on it, right?
Well, I would think it'd be better because looking at, and I don't have it from last time, but looking at that aerial photograph last time, it was pretty clear that the most significant intrusion onto our property was actually from other people. I mean, there were some buildings out there and fences, obviously fenced areas, and this and that and the other. And I think if you're going to cure a problem up there, you need to try to cure them all.
If you're doing anything.
And it's not a problem for them to sit on there. We don't have the concern you do if you're if it's your personal property. You can't adversely possess against the government. So, I mean, we're not going to lose title to it by letting them use it or anything. So,
It was a storage building, wasn't it, Mayor?
Yeah.
It's not like
And a
they're building a
dog
house,
pen
it's
or
storage.
No, they were, storage building is what they wanted to
that
use.
dog pen for them, there
Dog
was
pen in
a
a storage building.
Pen for a dog.
I think the next door's got a pen, or it's a fenced-in backyard.
looked like there was a storage building up at the east end of the property too.
The first one's got a storage building, and then at the very end, there's really a house or two up there that's just, I mean, it's junk, put it that way.
And then what about the upkeep of it? We've been mowing it. If we do this, can we just
I don't think we've been
stop?
mowing it. Have we been mowing it?
Most everything that those folks have got up there is developed throughout the years. They keep up whatever they've got their stuff on.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
It's not a problem. It's never been a problem. It's been going on I've been with the city for 25 years. It's been there longer than I've been there, so.
There's a lot of woods between it and the spring,
Right.
so it won't affect us. The other thing was the police pay schedule that we've been talking about. Are we any closer to having a decision on that?
Yes, we are working on that.
We're working on it as we speak, and hope to
Yeah.
have something done short.
Okay.
What was that date? We did a date next Tuesday, so we should have a recommendation by next Tuesday. Get that took care of.
Once that's done, if we do change it, how long will it take Tyler to get your program changed?
I don't know. You'll have to talk to him. I'm not involved in that part of it.
Okay.
I think what we were looking at was whatever recommendation we're going to make citywide, fire, police, whatever, would all be done this month so we could kick off January, or June 1 is your start date to do what you need to do, or whatever time it takes to get that set up. So I think the 22nd would give us nearly 10 days to say, here's what we're going to. And
Is there a sense that it is going to go forward to change?
well,
I can notify Tyler and get them lined up to be ready, or
it's
just,
probably going to change. It's probably 80% right now. It's going to change. It's just we had a meeting Wednesday night for the final walkthrough on the options, and we got a lot of feedback this week over the meeting we had last week, and we'll see what Wednesday brings.
Maybe you could contact him and find out how long it might take.
Yeah, contact Tyler.
Well, I'd be skeptical about trying to get it changed and in operation by the first of the month, because you always got
I think so,
glitches that's
too.
going to come
That's
up.
just the benchmark that we got to get started with. You know,
Yeah.
if we can get it done by the 1st of June, then
Yeah.
as soon as it can be implemented.
Yeah.
And one of them would
it's
be
going to
quite
take them just as long to do it regardless of when
Right.
you call them, so.
Right. One of them would be a pretty simple fix because she's very familiar with it.
Yeah, and she brought up a good point. I mean, what we're doing now is manually transferring, and we could manually transfer the new procedure until it got changed in the computers.
That's what we're trying to do, is streamline this whole process. Make it user-friendly and employee-friendly. We're meeting tomorrow night, 5 o'clock, with the entire police department, and then they're going to get together and bring their recommendation to the chief. And Tuesday or sooner will be when he'll bring it to Brian and Red. Lynn and I have met with Don, and it's not nearly as convoluted in the fire department. That's pretty well squared away. Very minor changes there.
So, okay, Mr. Rocky, you got something for us?
I do. I think it's terribly important that we recognize accomplishments of people who work for the city of Fort Payne. And I just want you all to know and recognize that 52 years ago in 1965, Andy Parker won the punt, pass, and kick
In the world.
contest. It was the apex of his athletic career.
absolutely
It was
correct.
all downhill after that.
But he was 6 feet tall at 8 years old.
He was 6 years old, and he was 6'4", 237 pounds.
And I won a Baltimore Colts leather jacket.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Still got it.
I still got it.
And you
Does it
still get
fit?
in it?
No.
All right, before we adjourn, we need to go into executive session to discuss good name and character. So,
You need a motion?
Got city picnic Friday.
Yeah,
week from Friday, city picnic. Make sure everybody's here.
motion, Johnny. Go into executive. Lynn, second.
Yes.
Got a motion and a second? Yes.
We're in executive session.
Okay. Thank you all for coming.